When we talk about resource, we actually need to differentiate between active resources, those that actively perform activities, and passive resources, those that are used by an active resource as part of performing an activity. Examples of active resources are a given human being, John Smith. This would be a process participant. A software system like an ERP, enterprise resource planning system, automatically performing an activity, like for example calculating your healthcare benefit that is done automatically by an application, some software system. And finally, pieces of equipment like a printer that is deemed to perform a printing job. So these are all active resources, process participants, software system, and pieces of equipment. On the other hand, we have passive resources, like for example an excavator that is actually used by the active resource, the operator, to perform an excavation job. Or a photocopier that is used by a human being to take some photocopies. Now, the focus when it comes to process modeling is mostly on active resources. Now, when we talk about active resources, we oftentimes do not address resources individually, like referring particularly to John, Smith, to Anne, or Mary. But we rather take groups of active resources, which are called the resource class or also resource pool. So these are groups of resources that are all interchangeable. For example, a role like senior financial officer, an organizational unit like a department, like warehouse and distribution, or a whole organization like a suppliers organization. These are all resource classes. So when it comes to executing a particular activity, if that activity has been assigned to an entire resource class, then one process participant from that class will actually perform the activity, like one senior financial officer out of the 5 senior financial officers that are available in our organization. Now, in order to be able to model resource class, we need to familiarize with 2 more constructs that are available in BPMN, pools and lanes. Pools capture an entire resource class, like an entire organization or an entire department. So generally, it is indeed used to model a business party, like a whole company. The supplier, the customer also is a business party involved in a process, the seller, the provider, etc. And then there is a possibility to partition this resource class into 2 or more subclasses by means of another construct which is called the lane. So the lane captures a resource subclass within the resource class being represented by the pool that embeds that lane. So it is typically used to represent departments if the embedding pool is actually used to represent a whole organization. And we can even nest lanes within lanes to represent different hierarchical levels within the organization. For example, the inner lanes could represent roles within the outer lanes that represents a department. So for example, financial officer and senior financial officer are 2 different roles within the lane finance department, which in turn is contained within the pool seller. So both pools and lanes are represented by horizontal bands that are labeled with the name of the pool or with the name of the lane.